Hello. I am super excited to have you here today. I'm excited because I'm having a conversation with a very important Nigerian, somebody who has actually labored for the democracy or one of those that have labored for the democracy that we are enjoying in Nigeria. He was a former senator in the Federal Republic of Nigeria representing Ekiti Central constituency. And afterwards, of course, he was appointed as a senior special advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari. Of course, he served under Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo. Proud to that, he has paid his due in journalism. He started as a cop reporter, and of course, he got to the echelon, the peak of this profession, and he became, of course, from being a reporter, he became, an editor and one of the founders of ICNL, that is Independent Communication Network Limited. This company is the publisher of that magazine that we all know, the news magazine. Then, of course, we have PM News, AM, the defunct AM, the defunct Tempo. And these were the titles that, of course, were really used to rattle the military government and ensure that, of course, the military government, they return back to the barrack. I am talking in respect of Senator Babafemiojudu. Viewers, welcome with me, Senator Babafemiojudu.
Yeah.
Nice to see you once again.
Thanks.
It's not that I must say this. Babafemiojudu was my boss in the news magazine, not just my boss. He came into my life at a very critical, stage in my life. I was looking for a job. I didn't know him. And I walked up to the news magazine, looked for him, actually got a copy of the news, and I checked the name, and I got there. I asked for Senator Ojudu, then Mr. Ojudu then, and they asked me, any appointment? I said no. And they said, so what do you want to see him for? I said, I need a job. Okay. And they called him on intercom, and he asked the receptionist, to send me up. And immediately I saw him, said, you're looking for a job. I have not even told him. He didn't know why I wasn't. I said, you're looking for a job. I'm sure you could see that. No, this man need a job. I said, yes. And he said, see, you're going to, see, there's no magic here. You have to go through the process. And I remember that you took me to the admin manager, right. Mr. Salawuddin, and he conducted a test for that, which I think I finished around after 8. Funny enough, sir, when I was through with that interview and I left the office, what you did not know is what I want to tell you today. Yes. I believe that I failed that test. I believe there is no way I could have passed that jump test. So you asked me to come back the following day, and I did not return because I wasn't sure of myself. And 2 weeks after, I just felt at least let me go and check. And I got there and I was like, oh, you did very well and things like that. And the rest is history. And so I want to use this opportunity that I really, really thank you.
No, it's my pleasure.
Because
what would you be?
Yes, what would you be? But it was a critical. I had just buried my father at that time. The severance allowance and the other money that I got from Daily Times was used to bury my father.
Oh my God.
So I didn't have anything. I didn't have any hope. I was looking for a house at that time, so I needed something. So I'm sure you just realized what you did for me.
Thank you.
That time. Thank you once again. And you really taught me. You groomed me in this profession. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, he has retired to a private life, but what I'm not sure of, which of course he is going to possibly affirm or otherwise, is that possibly he is going to be a governor of Ekiti. No, why? You're not
No.
Those who are Those who have held a position not better than you.
By March this year, I will be 64.
Okay.
And, well, you know, why won't people of my generation allow younger ones to hold those positions? They have the energy, they have the know-how. We can, sit back and mentor them and, get them to do what is good for the country. You know, we cannot hold on to power for long and call people who are already 50 leaders of tomorrow. When would they be leader? People who are 45, 50, 55 are called leaders of tomorrow. You know, some of us you quit. You know, not quit entirely, but step back a bit. Okay. Get them to do it, correct them where they go wrong. Mentor them, and let them give us a better country. How old was Obama when he became president of America? How old was Clinton? How old was John F. Kennedy? So they were not in their 60s now. They were in their mid-40s, early 50s, and all of that. So for me, honestly, I just believe that by the time you are 60, you should not be hoping to go and become governor or whatever. Maybe people can go to the Senate, sit back as elder statesmen and direct the affairs of lawmaking and a few other things. That for me, no. It's a no. I have my hand full right now. I mean,
what are the things you do right now?
I'm writing. I have about 4 books in the works. I'm writing. I'm into art collection. I'm into mentoring a lot of people. This year alone, I plan to have an art residency in my place in the kitchen, bringing young artists. They stay with me, they do their work, there, then at the end of it, we have an exhibition. Later in the year, top quarter of the year, I'll bring in writers. Let them go and have time with me to write books, and then, of course, we get them to move around the Ekiti state, appreciate nature and the environment and all of that. That gives me joy. From time to time, friends drop by, to come and say hi. I bring in people of knowledge, professors of embassy, we share ideas and all of that. I monthly host Ekiti book club in my house, young writers, aspiring writers come in, they come and, look at what, books, idea of books, how to write short story, how to write poetry, and bring in experts to come and talk to them. So these are part of life. These are very, it's not, life should not just be about, I want to be this, I want to be that, This idea of the next election, the next appointment, no. There are other things you could do that make you feel fulfilled, and then that will also add value to other people's life. That's for me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, I must say this. The reason for this interview is this. Senator Ojudu has just produced something that he ought to have done for a very long time. When I saw it, I said, oh my gosh.
Finally.
He ought to have done it. This is the book that Senator Ojudu has just authored. I think this is your first book, I'm not mistaken.
No.
All right.
Yeah, that's the third one. Is on politics. Politics that works.
All right.
And then another one was Nothing But My Truth, which was a compilation of some of my short writings.
Okay.
All right.
And the title of this book is Adventures of a Guerrilla Journalist. So you're a guerrilla journalist, huh?
Guerrilla, yes. I was.
Okay.
Because of the scenario of that time, you can publish and go home to rest. You can publish the truth and remain in your office. Many times we were declared wanted on radio and television. Many times we were arrested, locked up. So you have to survive by adopting some of the strategies of guerrilla warrior, which is an asymmetrical warfare, So we are here today, you are not there the following day. They think you live here, you have moved to another place. When they are looking for you, you sneaked out of the country.
Very scary and interesting.
Yeah, very, 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 very.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're having this interview because of this book.
This book, yes.
Let me tell you, I have read it.
I said that you have marked almost every page.
This picture, sir. This picture. Can you just say something about this picture?
Well, that was the day I was released from detention. I came out of detention. I wore, the single clothes I wore for 8 months plus was torn because I slept on the floor, bare floor, no mattress, nothing, for eight months plus, and So I came back, I quickly changed to this shirt that I'm wearing now. But of course, you can still see the beard and that kind of
Oh, that's great. Now,
Yes.
sir, let me ask this.
Okay.
In this book,
Yes.
in the tribute written by Onuga,
Yes.
my boss,
Yes.
he said that I think this departure from journalism to politics
Yes.
is a great loss to our profession.
Right.
And now this brings us to this question. Have you left journalism finally?
No, I've not. I just had a leave of absence. Even when I was in politics, I kept writing.
Okay.
I kept writing, publishing on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and everywhere. I cannot, journalism is part of my life. It can't take it away. It wasn't possible. But in terms of being formally employed as a journalist, the idea of the old journalism where you have to write and then the thing is printed and all of that is what I'm not into now. But I write every day. I've just completed a piece that I posted on Facebook now. I write every day, and I love writing. I love observing, and I still have the instinct of a reporter, of an investigative journalist. Wherever I go. I mean, not quite long. I was at UI to attend a program for President
Oh.
There, I went to the toilet. I saw the toilet was very bad. I took photographs. I went around the campus. I saw garbage and decay. I again went around. I saw a park which I used to love when I served there. Demolished. Yes,
I served in UI.
I served in UI.
NYC.
Yeah, my NYC 1 year. Yes, and I saw the park demolished. I wrote about that. So that for me, is the instinct of a journalist, of a reporter. Who sees things that would be of interest to people. And we write about it and comment about it.
Meaning that once a journalist will always be a journalist.
Yeah, for me, that's it. I don't know about other people. Yeah.
But another thing is, for me, journalism is a noble profession.
Yes. Yes.
Without journalism, there's no way we can have what we call Nigerian today.
No, it should be a noble profession.
Yeah, but one wonders, why will you actually leave that profession to that profession that is regarded as a dirty one, which is politics?
Okay, let me say this. Again, it was perhaps because I want a change in Nigeria. I want things to be done properly. I want people to live well. When democracy came in 1999, I was. If I had gone to Ekiti to contest, I probably would have been a senator or governor at that time. But I just don't see myself as a politician. I kept telling people that no. Even by coming to me, I said, no, I can't do politics. But, and now living on that democracy and seeing that, the passion that drove us to do what we did to bring about democracy, was, and now that we had democracy, there were, all kinds of funny things politicians were doing with democracy. I said, well, rather than being an investigator, an editorial writer, and that kind of, why don't you also go in and try to see if I can influence change? But that was a decision in my life that I don't regret things on reflection
You
now.
didn't achieve your aim.
There was no way I could have. There was no way. It wasn't like journalism where people of like minds come together and say, this is what we want to do. All kinds of funny guys, you then have to relate with in politics. So it's for me, it was frustrating. It was the worst. My time in Senate was the worst time in my life ever. I'm telling you.
So you're saying you can't give it a shot again?
Most unlikely. Most unlikely. Don't let me, never say never, but most unlikely. Most unlikely,
Most of you who were founding fathers of ICNL
Yes.
went into politics.
Not most of us.
Yes, I know of you.
Yes.
I know of Mr. Onuga, who wanted to contest for some time ago.
Yes.
And I also know about Mr. Honorable Idu
who went to be chairman of.
Exactly.
And he ran back.
Okay.
He was chairman and said, no, this is not it. Let me go back to what I know how to do. He ran back, and I don't ever believe that he will ever contest election again. Sheyi has never been a politician. He still remains 100% a journalist. Yeah. Kule Ajibade too. I'm not sure Kule can stand politics.
I think among all of you, I think he's the most quiet.
Yeah. Even Bayo went to run for Senate. Midway, he opted out. Said, "No, this he cannot cope." You know. So
now, in the book, in the tribute,
yes,
because you just talked about your Senate experience.
yes.
Mr. Onanuga said, who is the current spokesman
to the president,
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yes.
He said that he was able to say so many things about your achievements in journalism,
yes.
but he couldn't lay his finger, you know, on what you did in the Senate. He put it in the and so I want to give you that opportunity to say one or two things that are very remarkable, significant.
No, I mean quite a lot. I was a pain in the neck for the leadership of the Senate when I was there. In fact,
guerrilla position.
Yeah, they call where I sat the axis of trouble.
Okay.
You know, even when I raise up my hand to talk, I will raise my leg, I will shout, I will this and that. If I'm not able to talk on the ground, I will go out to the papers and grant interview and all of that, you know. And, you know, committees were set up. For example, the first committee in which I served was committee to review privatization. Yeah, it was an ad hoc committee, and we went around the country, and anybody who had attended any of our sittings would know that this guy really was hot. And before we started, I wrote 2 banks in which you know, that should anybody try to pay money into my account without my authorization, they should let me know. I don't want anybody to go and, you know, spoil my name and all of that, and I did my job very well on that. And I took up a lot of actions on behalf of people who were oppressed. For example, there were 13 Ekiti people who were employed into NSDC. What is it called now? Civil defense.
CDC.
Yes, civil defense. You know, they collected money from them to employ them.
I think I read about it.
They got employed, and then they trained. They were offered letter of employment. They were even receiving salary and be posted, only to now come back to say, look, we are sacking them because, you know, they were not properly engaged. I took on that battle. I really made a lot of noise about it, and, you know, and several others like that. You know, there was a time they brought the budget and allocated some money for road construction in Ekiti State. And looking and reading carefully at the budget, they then put names of roads in Sokoto, in wherever. And I raised hell, you know, until they reverted all of those kind of things. So quite a lot like that. I remember also when this Chibok thing happened,
yes.
They would not call on me to say, look, come and follow me to go and see Jonathan. You know, I know that you would say your mind when you get there. And I followed him. And of course, you know, I gave Jonathan a lot of tackles at that meeting. It's quite a lot, you know. You know, we're in the opposition then.
Yes.
And then going back home, you know, boreholes here and there, you know, transformer here and there. You know, I built, not even renovated, I built 4 classrooms.
Which is after your political duty?
Yes, my alma mater, you know, I built 4 classrooms, and I annually conducted essay competition among students of my constituency, and I select 20, gave them laptops and money to pay their tuition fees, and, you know, I gave 25,000 to 570 women as a grant, you know, very indigent women. 570 women to, you know, 25,000 each as grants for them for their trip, because again, my mother was a petty trader, and, you know, you see women who are selling fish, selling vegetable, and the entire wear less than 5,000 naira, and then, you know, if you inject some money into it, they will do better, and that was the idea then, and you know, quite a good number.
What about the bills? What about bees? Is there any?
Oh yes, I came up.
That
with,
you sponsored.
I came up with good bills.
Okay.
Particularly, the one that was sharing for me was the one that want to make it compulsory for anybody who want to govern Nigeria to submit himself to debates. You know, I mean, it was a battle for the bill, you know, to be allowed to be heard. You know, by the time the blood to be had, you know, the majority they voted against it, you know, and it was a very bad one. Even when I left, I got Senator Buhari from Oyo State here to also represent that bill, and I supported him. They still threw it out, you know. You know, I came up with several bills and motions. One thing is to even come with the bill, another one is for it to be listed. I'm telling you. So
there's also a politics behind that.
There is a big politics.
When it doesn't go well with
politics and corruption behind that. Yeah. But I won't elaborate on that.
All right. Okay. Something that there's I mean, when you went into politics, you and others, is there any way that it affected, you know, that radicalism that ICNL, the news and all of it, you know, were known for? The sense of objectivity in the final production of news. I mean, does it affect what what the news or titles of ICNL, what they were producing?
No, I don't think so. My going to politics does not affect their work at all.
Not even including Onanuga and others.
No. I don't think so. I mean, nobody.
You're a member of APC.
Yes.
You're a member of APC.
Yeah, they write critical articles about APC. I wouldn't call anybody to say, no, don't write that. You know, even if they write something critical about me, I will not even ask them not to write it. For as long as it is factual, you know. So no. We are liberal enough not to be tolerant of other people's viewpoint, or not to be tolerant of journalistic duties of others. No. In fact, when I got to the Senate, let me just tell you this story. That instinct of a reporter, you know, went with me. And when I saw that the journalists there were not doing what they should be doing, I invited some of them to my office. I said, you guys, I mean, why are you not seeing these things? Why are you not publishing these things? I told them, I'll be your, what they call it now, be your sources and that kind of thing. And, you know, I didn't know one or two of them when they tell the authorities, you know, that this is, and one of the people at the top called me and said, Femi, you know, people you had a meeting with in your office, they've come to tell us what you wanted to be doing. Don't go and get yourself killed. From that moment on, I severed my relationship with journalists.
Because of your integrity.
Yeah, but not just, they'll kill you. I mean, if you tell them something and they go and tell people that, Ojudu told me this, and just because you wanted to collect money from whoever, they'll kill you. Yeah, so I just say, okay, fine. It doesn't appear as if these guys are of that kind of love and passion for their job as I thought. So let me just do my work as a politician and live here.
So in this book, sir, you talked about how you started ICNL.
Yeah, sure.
You didn't have money.
No, we didn't.
You had to go out there
begging for
money.
Yes.
And well, God was on your side. Among those that helped you was Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yes.
In the book, you said he gave 250,000, and he also, I think, had it much money. In totality, how much?
Honestly, I wouldn't have that offhand, and I also don't even want to. Talk about that or talk about Tinubu in this interview because so that it doesn't look as if I'm after him or whatever. But when I get to say about if God allows about 75 or 80, when I then write my final book, I can then say and reveal every other thing that I know in life about everybody I've had dealings with. Yeah, that's them.
But he wasn't the only one that actually, of course, Shilon,
Begiojola brought money. Several others, several other lawyers, Babatunde gave us money, and
as an
put down some money. Garifayemi put down some money.
Which he claimed back. How did you feel?
Garifayemi is a radical. I'm a radical. We are bound to disagree. When he said, "Look, Femi, if you don't support me to uproot Tinubu from Lagos, then I will never associate with you again." I said, "Okay, fine. I mean, it's my choice."
Then he requested.
He requested for the money,
and it was given to him.
Yeah, we quickly issued a ticket, a check, signed, and then.
And he didn't change the relationship.
He did to an extent. Yeah, he did to an extent.
So at what point was it amended?
Well, it's not as if whenever we meet, at occasions, I go to him, I greet him, but he about that, he was cold, he about that, he feelings towards it. But again, it's one of those things, I mean, I could have done anything also to support him if I know that it's going to be hot, like I wish I did, of course, if you read the book. And, but, I will never because I mean when that had not happened, I go to his house, join him on his dining table, we eat together. In fact, he introduced me to the art of appreciating coffee of all kinds, and sometimes he will pack bottles of bottles of coffee and give to me, that kind of then I go to his office at any time. I never get to wait, just get in there, open the door. Hey, Femco, we talk and all of that, and our relationship predated even those periods because of I'm a benefactor of the scholarship scheme, so but I made sure that I attended all of the ceremonies, to give him a befitting burial.
Right. Apart from Tinubu and others, I mean, of course, they contributed.
Oh, sure. I appreciate them for that.
Yes, their contribution at one time or the other. Can we say that it affected journalistic objectivity and editorial policy?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Can you cite one or two examples of critical stories?
I remember when Tinubu became governor, he was less than 3 months old when Bayo wrote against him.
Okay.
When he called me and complained about it, and we just joke about it. And let me tell you this: we're a different breed. I remember one day I traveled to Abuja. I came into the office, went to the printing press, and I saw a story, already been printed. It was about the daughter of a friend of my dad. And I said, oh, this is trouble for me. I didn't even know how the story came about. I was not part of it and that kind of thing, that lady and that lady's mom and my dad, did not greet till they both died because of that story. Those are the risks you take as a journalist. But, when we sit down at our meetings, which, of course, you must have been part of, we discuss, ranges of ideas of individuals who are doing one thing or the other. We hardly consider, familial factors in deciding. In fact, there was one day I joked in our meeting that this relation kind of writes and investigate. If you find something against me, he will write it.
I think I did it. When you put it here, yes, put it here. Yes.
Yeah. So that's exactly
that ideology.
Yes.
Can we still say that the news magazines still have it till date?
I do not. I'm not in the news now.
Yes.
I follow the news
one of the owners
tangentially now.
Okay.
Though I'm still part of the owners, but I'm not. I cannot confidently say anything about the news as it is now. Yes.
Sir, with the relationship that you have, I want to use the word have. I really want to say had.
Okay.
With Tinubu.
Yes.
Tinubu employed Osinbajo as a commissioner then. And in this book, the only things I read, about the contribution of Osinbajo at the time was that it was providing legal services pro bono, I guess.
Pro bono, which would have been worth hundreds of thousands.
Yes. And Tinubu gave you the money and all the support. You vowed that you will not support Tinubu.
I think, like as I said earlier on, let's take away this Tinubu thing.
Okay.
I don't want the issue of my opinion on Tinubu to be the dominant factor as opposed to what this book is about. This book is about my experience as a journalist, and I wish it to be a lesson to the present journalist. I wish it for people to appreciate, what we went through to bring about this democracy. I wish people to see the kind of sacrifice we have made. But if we keep going back and forth to Tinubu, then that lesson will not sink, and it will have done the book a disservice. Yeah.
this book is about your experience in journalism. It's also an historical book.
Yes.
There are a lot of pictures, there are a lot of stories there. And of course, it the stories here, you know, tell a lot about Nigeria and Nigerian government.
As it was then,
so there is no way we could be discussing this book that we would not be talking about Nigeria.
Nigeria under the military, yes.
Yes,
not Nigeria under democracy.
I think it's also right for us to say that this is a memoir.
Yeah, my memoir of journalism, yes. Yes.
I want to clear that.
Yes.
And so, in as much as I wouldn't want to dwell on Tinubu,
yes,
Nigeria, we know the state of Nigeria now. Nobody would have expected that we buy fuel and all of the policies that we have. Do you think that Osinbajo would have been better?
Honestly, I will resist going into this issue of comparing Osinbajo and Tinubu. I've done that. Already you have seen my opinion in my interview with Edmond Obilo. Why would I now repeat myself? Why did we try and explore
in 2027,
other issues?
In 2027, will you encourage Osinbajo?
I wouldn't know. It depends on him. If he wants to contest, fine. I've not spoken to him in a long while. I don't know his mind about what his future portends. You know, politically, I don't know. It's left to him to decide on what he wants to do. He's an adult. Yes. He's a professor of law. I mean, great guy. So he assess the decision and decide by himself. Yeah.
Before leaving that. The major problem we have in Nigeria is leadership. And I don't think, now this is my opinion now, I don't think we've gotten it right.
Really?
I don't think we've gotten it right.
Okay.
But having said that, sir, it shows that we're still expecting, well, in quotes, Messiah. Now, let me ask this directly. Among the civilian administrations that we've had from 1999 to date, if you are to rank, if you are to score, who will you give first, second,
that would be subjective.
Yes, I know. It's your opinion.
It is subjective. The only thing I would say is that it is money yet on Democracy Day.
It is what?
It is money yet on Democracy Day. Yeah.
There's still lots to be done.
It's so much.
Let's go to, you talked about IBB here.
Yes.
You talked about IBB. IBB will continue to be relevant. If you are to describe IBB, you met him. In fact, you went to his house.
Yes.
You know, he wanted to see you, and you were there. You didn't. Number one, I would like you to describe the IBB. That you know.
Brilliant man.
Outside.
Intelligent.
Before you met him in person, and after you met him in person,
I didn't see anything different. It wasn't, it's a very intelligent, brilliant man.
How do you rate his administration?
Let me say this without, I don't want to rate.
Favor.
I don't want to relate, but I want to tell you that IBB was one person who prepared for leadership.
Okay.
I think two persons in our history, really prepared themselves for leadership.
And did he give his best?
Wait. IBB and Babafemi. You could see, and IBB, for whatever anybody may want to say, it's detribalized. If you look at the regime, people from every nook and corner of Nigeria, and he went for the best. I think the only problem, and history has shown us clearly this, was that last moment when he snatched defeat from the jaw of victory. Yeah.
That's the June 12th.
The annulment of that election. Yeah, snatching defeat from the jaw of victory. If you had allowed that election to stay, allow Abiola to become president, he would have returned as Nigerian president, civilian president. If he hadn't returned, he would have had a place at the international arena. Yeah.
Sir, there's something that, see, whenever there is a problem in any country, one of the things they do is that they set up a reconciliation committee.
Yeah.
Truth and
reconciliation.
They did that in South Africa.
Okay, they did it in Nigeria too.
Yes, they did in Nigeria.
Justice to put us a committee.
Yes. In South Africa,
yes.
I'm coming to the issue of Delegua now.
Yes.
In South Africa, Ruth First was assassinated.
Yes.
And the person that assassinated Ruth First came out to say, I did this. and he apologized to the nation.
Yeah.
It wasn't about punishment. All fingers have continued to point to IBB. Till date, IBB has not let us know. Even you talked about a particular soldier.
Yes, one young man
who came to you.
Yeah, to say that he was responsible.
He has never taken responsibility of the death of the Legiwa.
Yes, I'm aware that IBB has now decided to bring out his autobiography.
Okay.
It's in the works, I'm told, and I believe that maybe that will unravel more about the Legiwa when it is out. So let's wait and read that book. You
said you didn't drink the coffee.
Yes.
You were scared?
I was a young man. It's a young family.
You didn't want to die?
Yeah, at that time. If you are going to die, you won't die useless deaths, So, and we've had quite a lot, whether true or false, about him. Yeah. And we also felt we are forgiving all of those things we wrote about him.
Yeah.
Or is it just a payback time? A very genuine man. I've seen him after the first one. And I fell in love with him as a person. Yeah.
And you equally rejected the money.
Oh, of course, yes.
I want you to speak to that.
Well, it is in our nation in those days. Prior to that, yes, it's our nation, and that was why we decided myself and Bayo were to go. If myself and Bayo had gone alone, there could be rumor maybe that we collected, and we brought one of the youngest reporters to come with us, so that he would be our witness that we never took anything from him. And if for example we're not journalists, and it was not a subject, or will not be a subject of. If you had offered us a gift, maybe we would have taken. But we saw it as unethical, and that has been our practice always. Let me also tell you. Maybe I will also reveal this here. Sometime in 1994 or early 1995, Chuneka was in charge.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ibrahim Abacha had a meeting with one of my colleagues and offered 50 million to buy shares in the news. That was at the time when we were scrounging for survival.
Yeah, everybody also mentioned it.
And we rejected it. So I even forgot to put it in this book. Yeah, we rejected it. And it would have been like taking hemlock, taking poison. If you are taking that money and it became head of state up, and then we write all of those things, they will have destroyed the organization. The guy who had the meeting with him, I think it was Dapolon Yomi, who had a meeting with him on that, came back and reported to us, and he told him, "Come, let me go and discuss with my colleagues." And I, brought the matter, we discussed. I said, "No, let's reject the money," and we did. 50 million that time would be like half a billion now.
Yeah,
right.
But in this era of commercial and capital, journalism.
Yes.
What can you say as to the kind of journalism that we have in terms of fairness, in terms of ethics, in terms of what journalism is turning out, in terms of the information that
well, yes, I know what you are saying. Let me just simply put it that journalism in Nigeria is challenged right now. It's challenged, ethically, quality-wise, content-wise, and it's a problem. And if you have a democracy and you don't have a vibrant media,
yes,
that democracy will not grow, and that's why our democracy is not growing. We don't have a vibrant media. You pick up papers published in the UK, in India, in New Zealand, in Australia. You see how vibrant journalists are. When we were younger and getting into the profession, the Guardian, the Punch, or Tribune will write an editorial, and that will have very powerful influence on governance and on issues. That is no longer the case.
What are the factors responsible for this?
One is the environment. Education. A lot of the journalists who are practicing today are challenged education-wise.
Okay.
Their knowledge is limited. The reasoning, the logic, and the style is no longer as vibrant as it should be. Secondly, is the economy. People are trying to survive. Young people come out of university, They get a job, they want to rent a house, they want to buy a car, they want to marry, they want to take care of their children and that kind of thing. And in our climb, children of middle class, upper class don't go into journalism. It's the children of the poor who want to survive by all means. So they have to tamper with ethics and all of that. But if you go to India, children of the upper middle class, lower upper class, they go to UK, go to Cambridge, Oxford, LSE to go and study economics, politics and philosophy. After graduating, they go back home to go and join the editorial board of newspapers. And today, as challenged as regular newspapering is by the social media, newspapers are still thriving in India, in New Zealand. So they have their issues, but again, not as bad as our own. And again, why? You set up a publication or a television station or whatever it is, and you are not able to pay salaries. And people will have to go and, seek a survivor, whichever way. So that kind of so.
Is there anything government can do, to ensure that
there was a situation that was canvassed at the time that maybe news organizations should receive subvention, since it is called the fourth estate of the realm, and it's of importance, and it's of importance to the survival of our democracy, that maybe they should be listed and given a subvention. But again, that itself has a social challenge. If somebody gives you subvention, how do you want to control? Yeah, it will control you. So first of all, if you are going to have a vibrant media, we must set up very vibrant schools where journalists will be trained. There must be people who are well schooled in economics, knowledge of economic, political science, and philosophy, and English language. They must be able to express themselves clearly and effortlessly. The other one is that the input, for newspapers are dollar denominated. You want to buy newsprint, it's not manufactured in Nigeria. You want to buy a printing machine, it's not manufactured in Nigeria. You want to buy the ink for printing, it's not manufactured in Nigeria. The parts for the machines are not manufactured in Nigeria. So it takes a lot of money to sustain the newspaper. And again, readership in Nigeria is very low, very, very low. Again, because, education problem. Second one is also that, the journalists are not providing the right things that attracts people to read, that kind of. So then you pick a Nigerian paper, you flip through it, under 10 minutes, you are done. You don't pick up a paper in England a whole day and still find something of interest for me. I'll pick an Indian paper, that kind of thing I read. So it's a combination of factors that we have to look at, But we can't go on this way. We can't. A democracy without a searchlight of journalists is going to be, something akin to banditry.
And so, how do you think that we can, journalism, what can be done for journalism to regain its lost glory?
First of all, like I said education.
Okay.
Have a very sound education for anyone who wants to be a journalist.
Okay.
And then not just for anyone who wants to be, for anyone who has passion to become a journalist. You must have passion for this. It's not a profession you go to because you want to be rich, or you want to ride big cars, or want to build houses here and there. Yeah, you can. You must train people who have passion, who are well educated. First, then we must find a way of improving their standard of living. You cannot throw a journalist on the street. 3 months you have not paid his salary. He will then use his ID card to go and negotiate, and then see black and call it white. If somebody is hungry, does not know how to pay his rent and that kind of thing, if you give him 50,000 naira, he will write. He will write that a Catholic nun is an armed robber and then collect money. So it's then again, we probably have to then, since we cannot manufacture machines now, we have to remove tariffs on importation of printing machines and importation of newsprint, importation of ink, which one believes it then reduces the cost greatly. Yeah, reduce the cost of the papers going out, and part of the issue of education is being able to train journalists to write what people want to read. It's not enough to have technical capacity. Orientation, must be different. You can't be, stayed and and you write regular things, and a lot of things going on in our society today. I imagine somebody getting up as a journalist and investigating how much Nigerians spent on Owambe parties, on the weekend, on every weekend, come up with that information, come up, examine it economically. That can even win an award, that can win an award. But those things are not being done. In-depth analysis, in-depth investigation, in-depth reporting, those are the kind of things that will sustain in this publication. I'm not, the last 5 years, read a hard copy of a newspaper. Why will I spend the money that cannot sustain my interest? I go on social media, see a little about and move on. But I still go. I mean, I subscribe to the New Yorker. I subscribe to the New York Times. I subscribe to the Washington Post, Economist of London, and all that. And when I'm reading it, I couldn't forget that I was eating. I'm eating or something. Because it grips you.
I'm getting
value for my time and for my money. But that does not happen with our publications locally. And the fact of the magazine having exited too, it's a big problem. Those ones will have been able to provide you that in-depthness. That's not there. And then, language challenge. A lot of the journalists are challenged by they are limited by the way they write. There's no excitement. There are some writings you encounter, and when you read, you will start dancing. I said that in that book of Dr. Yomi, he's a master pro stylist, and quite a lot of people like that. Badare, Muyiwa Adekeye, quite a good number of our people when they write in those days. When I give them assignments and they come to me with their script, I'll just be laughing. And I'll give them high five because, imagine asking somebody to go and write about Brazil, the bra, and the guy goes back as far as 5th, 6th centuries back and comes up with a well-researched, how the thing started, what it is, the varieties are available now, what it does to human breast and all those kind of things. The depth of it alone, I once said, was it Wasiu? There is one of our journalists was what's his name now? Later, went to work in government, and he went to write about Makoko. Those people living on stilts. And by the time he came back with his story, I was willing to, add to his salary. And several others like that. Bamidele Johnson. Till today, whenever I read Bamidele Johnson on social media, my God, whether it is in the night or during the day, I'll just be smiling or laughing. So as I'm asking, what? I said, this bad boy has written again, with this kind of capacity and style, So
I call him a let me issue.
So things like that, many of them are no longer, they are doing all of those things, yes.
You talk about Okaku here. It's not about narrating the story now. But my interest is that have we learned from that Okaku? Those the reasons why Oka staged that coup, have they been addressed?
Have they been addressed?
Yes.
Well, for me, I think those. In fact, I think we are much more divided now than when Oka carried out a coup and excision of some states from Nigeria. We are much more divided. If that thing happened at this time, people embrace it. Unfortunately, they will embrace it. You can see Igbos and Yorubas throwing insults. Not even,
Okay, yeah, I understand.
Igbos and Yorubas throwing barbs and insults at one another, people insulting the Hausa people and the Fulani. That should not be the case in a nation of the magnitude of Nigeria. There is no part of Nigeria that does not have something to contribute to our national development. So we just need a leader who can willy-nilly bring us together. The kind of thing that is happening in Rwanda now. You don't meet an average Rwandese talking about Hutus and Tutsis anymore. The man said nobody must, talk about those tribes again. We are a nation and we are a nation. If they are able to survive, for another 2-3 generations, that they would have been solidly united. There could be other currents of faith, but it won't be the determinant of the future of that country anymore. Yeah. So,
but sorry to cut you there. You see, till date, like you said,
yes,
we are still divided in the most unthinkable, ridiculous manner.
Yes.
But the problem I have is this.
Yes.
I don't see what the leaders, what the government is doing to eradicate this and let us have a country that we will be proud of.
Yeah, okay. You just see that it's our hope that one day we'll have that kind of government.
Let's talk about ethics. You talked about, yes, I'm sure I have heard you, but I think you should also, I'm coming from the angle of ethics.
Yes.
Don't you think you should have done it differently? The way you went about the negative.
Which one?
The negative, when you were looking for the picture of Oka.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but maybe by buying.
How could you buy from that young girl that we met there?
Okay.
Very unconscious girl who does not even know anything.
Okay.
And the boss had traveled and we were desperate to tell Nigerians who Oka
Did you return the negative after you have used it?
No. How do you return that?
Yeah, no, I know where I'm going to.
Yes.
Yeah, that is one, because we are delving into, you see, at the end of the day, whatever we discuss over this, it will also teach the upcoming journalists.
Honestly, let me tell you this, up front.
Okay.
If I have a reporter,
yes,
yeah, and I have something that will be of national interest to get from somewhere, go and get it from in whichever way.
Okay.
You must get it from me. My role is I must inform in whichever way, for as long as you are a journalist. You are not doing it for private gain or whatever. So, look, it's go and read about journalism all over the world. One of the books I've read was A Good Life. By what's the name of this man who was the boss of Washington Post, at the time. Was it? Yeah, A Good Life. The title of the book is A Good Life. I'm trying to remember his name. Go and read that thing. A journalist must go out and get information.
Anyhow,
whichever way. Yeah.
It's normal.
Because maybe in the course of getting you out an individual, but to protect the entire race or an entire country. That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
In getting that negative, I pity the lady who was holding shop at that time. But again, we treated her well. We give her money. And but the larger thing is that
the interest of the country.
There was a threat to the unity of Nigeria. Somebody had gone, tried to seize power and then to send a part of Nigeria to the country, and nobody seemed to know who he was. We wanted to enlighten the people that this is this guy, this is his philosophy, this is who he was, and that kind of thing, and we did it. Yeah.
Let's talk about media repression. You talked about repressing you. You talk about government repressing the media, and that the more the government attempted to repress you, the louder your voice resonates.
Yes.
And the question is this: do you think the voice of the media still resonates today?
No, that's what I'm saying. It's nobody takes whatever journalists write seriously anymore. I told you that. Look, in the past, if there's nobody in government who will not hurry in the morning to go and read what editorial Guardian is writing for the day, or what editorial the Punch is writing, or what editorial the Tribune is writing. But that's no longer so. Editorials are spineless and almost obtuse now. That kind of. So, and that is a problem. It is a problem. So, anybody, I don't even think again that departments and agency ministries of government subscribe to newspapers anymore. Because it's of there's nothing left. More than government repression, I think it is the people themselves who repress freedom of the press now. How? Because you have telephones and data in the hands of ignorant people who, as soon as they even try to say the truth or write something enlightening on, on social media, those ones are sent out to go and be abusing them. And not everybody can, absorb abuse like an Obasanjo, like President Tinubu, like any one of us. People are ignorant, are in control. They will go on social media and start. Most of the time, they will not even have read what you have written or the kind of interview you have granted. Before you know it, now they've interpreted their own way. And so, if you are the one whose skin is too light to absorb that, you just put back. They will allow and let them go and do whatever they like. So, for me, the oppressors, the repressors are the ignorant people that are the majority in our society, and not even the government. Not the government. Well, maybe the government uses them, buy a China phone for them, give them 500 naira data. I used to call them the data boys. Before you publish everything, under 1 second of posting something that is about 2,000 words or 1,500 words long, they are already abusing. What kind of?
I want you to clarify this. During the military, of course, we believe that military is very repressive. Is civilian repressive too?
When now?
Yes.
No, the kind of things.
Even before now, we have Buhari's administration.
Yes. You can't compare repression from 1999 today to what happened in those days.
Okay.
Yeah, there are occasional cases of arrest and detention. And let me also say, quite a number of people these days who get arrested for what they read, quite a number of them are blackmailers. Who does that for money? I mean, you go and write something that is not true about somebody, you get arrested. I do not support arrest of journalists, whether blackmailer or anything. Get them to court.
Let them be processed.
Yeah, that kind of thing. But I'm saying that when you look at, if you've read what went through here, somebody being tortured to death, somebody being held in prison. I mean, Oloyomi's wife, holding a child that was just a little more than 3 months old, was locked up with the child for months before she was released. Ajibade was tried for what he knew nothing about. Christiania was tried for what she knew nothing about, and several others. Bagada was tortured to death. You can't. When people try to talk about, I said, look, people, what are you out of your mind? How can you compare whatever has happened in 1999 to date to what happened under Abacha, under Babangida, or under?
It is incomparable. It
is incomparable now, or even under Buhari between 1983 and when it was removed. So. It's Yabo was jailed not for not writing the truth, but for writing what was embarrassing to those in power.
That is
Decree 4.
Buhari.
Under Buhari Diagbon regime. So you can't compare those things to now. People write and get away with it. People insult leaders and get away with it. My own is even that look, you don't insult people. You can be critical as you can be. And when you are critical, make sure that you have your facts in place and go out and then face the consequence. Yeah.
Fela.
Yes.
You ran into Fela.
Yes.
In a compromising position.
Yes.
Can you speak to that?
To
what extent?
Fela is a particular. He's a very strange person, and that's why he's called Abamieda. He's not a regular person. Honestly, he's a spirit.
Okay.
And if Fela had come, so maybe like 20 years ago, he probably would have been one of the gods of Yoruba now. And I think he needs to be canonized, later in life as a god, that kind. Because when people do irregular things and nobody can prevent them, he's immune to what you think about him. So, imagine somebody walking around the house in his underpants, sometimes even on the stage, and he will put a tissue paper under his pants to make the place look bulging and all of that. And, so when I experienced what I described in that place, I was in shock. Seriously.
You met them on top of it?
Yes, I was in shock.
So you saw it?
I just said, this is crazy.
And you ran away?
I ran back. And,
that's quite interesting. And his response was that, don't you make love? And all of that.
Love making is not somebody that should be hidden. That is part of life. How
did he perceive women? How did he see women?
Actually, and he loves women and he respects them.
For real?
I'm telling you.
No.
That's one thing. And he had to marry 27 wives so as to give them some respectability. When those ladies were working with him, they are going to jail with him, they are traveling abroad to perform with him, they are sacrificing when things were not good. And out there, you know, the people refer to them as Ashewo, prostitute, and I said, what rubbish. And it wasn't just him. Ojudu to express the same thing. Ojudu had to marry many of his dancers because of that kind of opinion about them too. So he did that out of respect for them. Although he later regretted it and said, no, I was crazy. I was crazy to go and marry all of that. And that was where he referred to marriage as Igbeyawo. You carry suffer, you look.
And so on your page, on page 38,
right,
you talk about new journalism. And so my question to you is that, what is your concept of new journalism, number one? To what extent can you say that new journalists involved in new journalism in Nigeria or in Africa, or maybe Nigeria?
Well, you know, the idea of new journalism is being able to see things from the prism of human beings.
Yes.
You know, something happens rather than theorizing.
Yes, you are involved.
You are not just that you are involved. Okay. You are reporting it from the viewpoint of those who are involved.
Okay.
You know, when an accident happens on the road, you know, rather than saying the driver was going at 120 kilometers per hour, the road was bad, the police was not available, you see the accident, you see a victim, you know, written in pools of blood, you then start your story from that. You know, that pool of blood, maybe with a child beside her, and the leg broken, crying for help and that kind of thing. And then somebody comes, offered him or her water, and then an ambulance came and taken to. You take your story from that. You know, you throw in some human elements into it, and then you can then evolve from there to go into the issues of bad road, issues of lack of enough policemen on the road or road safety people on the road and that kind of thing. But if you just start by that kind of thing, it puts people off. It's not of us sucking your readers, you know, by starting with something emotional, something emotive, you know, that kind of, and then from there go down to other issues that you want to address. That's exactly what is called. It's like, you know, it's like storytelling in a manner that will be of interest to people, you know. Yeah, you take off from the not too serious to the serious, you know. By the time you get to the serious, you'll have, you know, sucked in your reader, you know, and then it will then. But sometimes you look at some stories from the intro, you already put off. You don't want to read that, you know. But if you start from the emotive, then you suck all of us suck in your reader. It's like someone writing the novel. You must give a good beginning, a good start, a good intro.
Do you think Nigerian journalists are good at that?
Honestly, let's just stop at that.
All right. On page 45, there you talk about Itaoko. Yes. And the question I have from Itaoko story is that, does it affirm that there are a lot of unofficial prison
at that time? Yes.
At that time.
Yes.
What about now?
I wouldn't know. Again, it is for the journalists of now to find out and come up with. I mean, after all, it was journalists of then that came out, people like Richard Kenola, you know, through the apparatus of CLO, they first came out with the story about Itaoko. We now went to explore it and see further, you know, what is contained there. And, you know, a good journalist and a good media to shine light in dark places, break open cupboards that have skeletons, you know, so that the world could know and could see. You know, there should be no hidden place in any society. No hidden place in any society. And that's the role of a journalist. But if you are the journalist that gets to the door and you find it locked and you turn back, or you open the place and you find skeletons and then you ask for money and then you keep mute, then you betrayed your profession.
There is you talked about MKO Abiola in your why I'm not really allowing you to narrate is I just want to bring out issue
out of some of those things. Yes,
you sell that people's perception of MKO Abiola is that it played a major role.
Yes,
in stopping Chief Awolowo.
Yes, from becoming president.
Do you agree to that?
Because a Yoruba man from Ogun State who was in MPN and was one of the richest persons in Nigeria then, who had enough resources.
Do you consider it as an error as a person?
That was his own belief at that time. That was his own. That was his own politics. People are free to do their politics. It's a political battle, and if you do not, he didn't believe in Awolowo then, and he had to use all that he has in conjunction with others to stop him from becoming president. But I think he got punished for it by the Yoruba people at that time. But later they forgave him, and you can see they voted for him massively later. Yes. So if you are not a hero today, you could be a hero tomorrow. It's not a permanent thing in Nigeria. Yeah.
But there's this thing about Yoruba.
Yes.
Yoruba, when it comes to things of common interest, they're always divided. They are not united regarding that thing that will bring a common good to everybody. For instance, during the confab, I wouldn't want to mention a name, but one of the participants told me that the Yoruba lost out in their demand because they did not unite. And there's also this belief that Hausa or Fulani, they are better than Southerners or Yoruba when it comes to politics. Why is it difficult for Yoruba to come together and say, this is what we want, and go for it?
I think it has to do with Yoruba's liberalism. Yorubas are liberal.
And is that to their advantage or to their disadvantage?
No. Well, for me, we cannot all sleep and have our head in one position. It's good for society for people to disagree. You can't hard. It's only hearts that go, where they are directed to. Let people be able to think independently and come up, with the idea of Yoruba that they canvass at every election period. I'm against it. Let everybody, be able to decide by themselves what they think is good for them. If one opinion is, happens to enjoy majority, well, fine. If the other one doesn't, there was a time when Awolowo went to an election and he offered free education and then increased taxes. And people voted against him. The same people voted against him when he now realized that what he was preaching regarding education is of benefit. They almost turned him to God. So that's the way the Yorubas are. It's not about division. It's not about cowardice. It's not about. I think we are seeing it in negative way because we are operating in a multi-ethnic society. That people think we should band together to fight others. I do not think that is the way to run the country. If I choose to believe in somebody from Zaria, maybe our ideology, meets, that kind of thing. I mean, if I decide not to support somebody from my family because I do not believe in him, yes, so be it. That's my right to do so. So, but for you to, anybody who disagree with you, then it's unmanly, it's later, those kind of, these are just, philosophies of idiots.
To get things right in Nigeria, what is your suggestion? And I want you to be very, very practical.
To get things right in Nigeria, we must have an aggregate of people who believe in Nigeria. We must aggregate people who have vision. We must aggregate people who are detribalized, completely detribalized. We must aggregate people who have ideas and who have ideas. They must come together from different parts of the country, form a movement, mobilize towards that movement, and take over power.
Are you talking? Are you talking in the direction of revolution?
It doesn't have to be revolution. It doesn't have to be revolution. If we have the best of the East coming with the best of the West and the best of the North, and organize a political party, and then of course, take decisions that are not driven by ethnicity or religion, and then hand over and give power to the best of this country. Change will come. Change will certainly come. But when you think that a fool from my part of the country is better than a genius from another part of the country, and therefore you are going to vote for a fool, then whatever it is you get from there, so be it for you. So you eat your foolishness. Yeah.
Look at the issue of Professor Banjo.
Yes, that the
it's a major issue.
Yes.
Because it borders on the fact that somebody sees himself or his own tribe that we have to continue to rule.
Which of the majors?
For instance,
Professor
Banjo.
No, I don't think that was his agenda.
No, but there was somebody that attended a meeting, and somebody was talking about the fact that he was not happy because a northerner was talking about the fact that they are born to rule. It is in this book.
Oh yes. Anybody will be outraged by that.
I'm coming, sir.
Yeah.
Recently, I listened to a governor from the north and saying all sort of things that
does not mean that he's speaking for the north.
Yes, sir. He is an opinion leader.
Yes.
It goes a long way.
Just the same way that a Yoruba person will get up and start insulting people from other parts of the country.
Sir,
yes.
I'm so bothered about this. Particularly the children, that are coming. Are they going to? I'm still going to ask you, sir. When are we going to start? That part that will see us not as Yoruba, but as a Nigerian.
It's leadership. It's leadership. I'm telling you, it's about leadership. We have leadership informed by ideas.
Yes.
Informed by a good vision. Look, a poor man in Kano and a poor man in Ado-Ekiti, they are poor men.
Sorry, sir. Look at the issue of quota system.
Yeah, those things those things will still have to be taken off. If you want to employ, there must be a qualified person from Maiduguri, qualified person, from Abeokuta, qualified person from Owerri. People are there everywhere who are fantastic in terms of their knowledge and experience. But when you now are in power, you are looking for people based on your religious affinity or your ethnic or a word of tribe. These are people who are going to kill the country.
The current administration has been accused of that.
Too bad, unfortunately.
And so we have not started that part. We are yet to see ourselves as one.
That's why in one of my interviews I talked about Ataturk.
Sir?
In one of my interviews I made a reference to Ataturk.
Okay.
Turkey was almost at the stage Nigeria is now.
Okay.
Divided by ethnicity, divided by religion, all kinds of criminality and all of that, to the point where Turkey began to be referred to as the sick man of Europe. That kind of. And then came a charismatic leader, a man of vision, and who then said, "Look, this cannot continue. Turkey must change for good. Weld the different ethnic groups together, and and then began to tell them that put less emphasis on religious differences, and then built a Turkey that our people are rushing to today to go and have holidays." Similarly, Rwanda. I went to Rwanda soon after the massacre that went on there. I went to Rwanda many times thereafter. If you see the kind of change that has been brought about by a leader who had an idea of what a country should be, and that's what is called vision. If you're a visionary, you don't go and surround yourself with your ethnic people, whether they are qualified or not qualified. If you're a visionary leader, you envisage or envisioned what your country would be like in 10, 20, 50 years' time. In the days of Awolowo, there used to be called developmental plans. They don't even look at things from annual budgeting. 4-year developmental plan, 8-year developmental plan, 12-year developmental plan, because they have ambition in that.
Vision 2020.
Yeah, those are the kind of things they think about. But all of that is gone in our own governance in Nigeria. So for me, these are problems that could be solved by good leadership. And I keep saying 100% though, that the problem of this country is lack of visionary leadership.
So when are we going to have that good leadership?
Yeah, we continue to work towards it. We continue to preach and continue to pray for it and work hard for it.
All
You know, the thing I tell young men and women is that, look, it is your future. It is the future of your children. Go and begin to relate with people like you from across.
Seems to be common in Africa. So I want you to speak to how this...
Again, under dictatorship, you know, when you are intolerant of journalists, intolerant of freedom of speech, intolerance of plurality, that's the kind of thing that you find. You know, so it's not something strange when you are under a not so democratic government.
But do you know that a civilian can also be undemocratic?
Oh, I can agree with you. Yeah. There are civilian governments in history that was as undemocratic as the military government.
To one in Nigeria?
The civilian that was undemocratic in Nigeria, not in the mold that you are painted.
Okay, you know. So can you just the Moshood?
Yeah, the Moshood was a publisher of Razor magazine that was almost on in the line of what Temple did, and I think he escaped. You know, one of his escape from Nigeria. You know, maybe they were looking for him. He went to Cotonou. It was in an hotel in Cotonou. He was kidnapped. You know, and then drugged. You know, put in the boot of a car. And
brought back to Nigeria.
And driven to Nigeria and kept, in an underground cell at a DMI. Yeah.
During Abacha?
During Abacha regime, yeah. So he came out. I think he came out after Abacha died, and he left Nigeria. And I think he has acquired a PhD somewhere in America. Yeah, since then I've not heard from him in a long time. So it's yeah. Shegun, the guy who came to me. Yes.
He came to give you an information.
Yes.
He came for a protection.
Yes.
And you went ahead to report to the security because he was involved.
Yes.
Do you think you ought to have done that?
Because I sought
humility.
I sought his consent.
And he agreed.
Yes, and that one for me was even the way to protect him.
Okay.
The moment the thing becomes open, to difficult for anybody to kill him.
But sir, I need to say this. When I read that in that aspect,
yes.
I was scared.
Scared of what?
I was scared. A pregnant woman.
Yeah, that's what happened.
What for, sir? For power? For money? For what?
Yeah, anything you can think about. That's the stupid thing people do. Yeah. We have heard stories of pastors who kill somebody and bury the corpse at the altar so that they can have more people coming to his church. The funny things people do in this country, either for money or for power. Yeah.
So do you?
I hope journalists could.
Can you say that journalism, the real journalism,
yes,
is actually suicidal?
It is suicidal. Yeah. If you are going to be a true journalist, if you are going to live, the true to the name of a journalist, you must be ready to undergo or encounter inconveniences. For me, going to jail was an inconvenience. But again, I've made up my mind about it. You'll be surprised if I tell you that, as crazy as it was, as a 27-year-old guy, I did a draft of my will. And I kept updating ever since. Because you have to know what you want to do with your life. And I never knew I could live till 40 or live till 50. So when I see myself now, 63-year-old, I believe that every day that I live now is a bonus for me. Because I've done those silly things that, crazy things that you have seen there, being abducted in the night at the border and, taken to where they were going to kill me and, try to think through the situation and so I was with Kunle just some days ago, and we're talking and we were wondering how did we even ever go into such things, and what really was, what propelled us to save Nigeria, to save the country, what gives us that impetus to take those risks. Sometimes I reflect on that. When I look back at my days in detention, sitting on the bare floor, sleeping on the bare floor, and I look at it and say, well, that's the stage we are in then. But again, mind you, If the circumstance requires that I do that again tomorrow, I will.
You will still do it.
I'll do it.
Even with the experience that
Oh yeah,
near death.
Sure.
Are you saying Nigeria worth dying for?
Oh yes, why not? If you are if you are from a country and you have social conscience, you're able to give your life to your country.
What about the leaders? I won't mention him.
Yeah.
There was a governor that told me, it's late now.
No, Nigeria is not what they're for.
Yes.
That's why they also govern the way they govern. Nigeria should be. I mean, if you're a patriot and you need to sacrifice your life for your country, why? That's why we have soldiers who go to war and face guns and bombs now. So if you are in the comfort of your governor, the government house or government office, and you're saying Nigeria is not worth dying for, what kind of human being are you? Yeah. On
the last note, journalists, I also want you to give an advice, to say something to our legislators.
Okay, fine.
And to Nigerians as
for journalists, if you know you don't have passion for the profession, if you know you don't have social conscience, if you know you are not willing to take risks for Nigeria and for that profession, please don't go there. Don't go there. For legislators, actually, it's pity I have for them, because when you are a legislator in Nigeria, you go through a lot, and people don't know. People they just see the glamour and think, these guys are
flashy cars,
flashy,
and all of
but where they go through excruciating process to get there, excruciating process to remain there. I mean, people insult them, abuse them, they make them do things that they didn't sign up for. So, if you want to live in peace, and it's better to earn small money and live your life well than to go and be a lawmaker and have a rest of life. People have died, slumped and died, and have hypertension and all kinds of diseases just because they opt to serve as. Again, it's because we are not getting our priority right as leaders. The moment we get our priority right, we all come together and plan for the betterment of the people. Let them have good education, good housing, affordable health, and every other thing. So maybe the prayer on legislators will be lighter, and then they can live a good life. You don't see an American senator who has to pay school fees for anybody. You don't see an American senator or congressman. People go to their homes on weekends, you kill cows and take caterers, and then they eat, they drink, and then you give them transfer money. No, you don't. That's not part of their job. Their job is make law, do oversight function. That's all. Yeah, that's all. But that's Nigerians do this thing. Even if your wife is not able to get pregnant, she can come and tell you to come and help. Then when they get bad, say won't you be more? And you bring it to water. Do I have another wife outside? They are talking about their wife. They want money for a coma and all that. For Nigerians, I think we have to get serious, all of us. And decide that we want a better country.
And the youth.
You can't go and collect money on the day of election, from an aspiring person, and then think that person will serve you. He has sold his house, he has sold his property to pay you. In my Ekiti place, they call it Diboko Sebe. Vote and cook a soup. After cooking a pot of soup, eat your pot of soup for the next 4 years. The man who give you the money to cook a pot of soup has paid you. So now he's ready. He's at that point he's a trader. So and traders look forward to profits. So whatever then comes after becomes the profit. Since he has already invested.
We say something to the youth too.
The young people of Nigeria, my advice to them is that band together, organize, mobilize, and stop agonizing. And how old was Nnamdi Azikiwe when he came up with the NCNC Zikis movement? How long became leaders of Yoruba at the age of 42? And now, was an editor at 22. He moved the motion for Nigerian independence at 27. You guys should just not be abusing Soyinka for not fighting for you. A man is 90.
That's age.
A man is 90, has been fighting since he was a teenager. And now you're abusing him for not fighting for you.
So they should take their destiny
in their hands. Yeah, don't be lazy. Don't think that other people will come and fight for you. I keep telling every young people that come by, you are at your vibrant stage in life. You have energy, you can take risk, you have the knowledge, unlike in our generation, you even have things to help you, so use all of that, bring about change in this country.
Which?
Forget your personal comfort now. Think of the future. Think of the future of your children. You know, yeah.
Senator Ojudu,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Thank you very
I really
much.
appreciate
Yeah,
you,
God bless you
for the time.
Thank you.
We have come to the end of this conversation, and I'm sure that no matter how small, you will have learned something. But most importantly, I must tell you, if you have not gotten this book, please go and get this book, particularly journalists and students of mass communication. It is part of you're going to learn a lot here, and it's part of the things that will prepare you for the profession that you have chosen. Until we come your way again, it is goodbye.